So the biggest headline for today. Good morning, everyone. So the biggest headline for today is the launch of Axiom 4, which is a collaboration between many countries, and on behalf of India, we have the captain, Mr. Shukla, who is on board, the second Indian to travel into space after Rakesh Sharma in 1984. This is a developing news. We will have elaborate details going forward. But what is the most important takeaway? See, the point of this experiment is to. What is the point of this experiment? This is an experiment meant for medical research, where, for example, how will our human body respond to glucose management on board? How will muscular atrophy, meaning how will muscle degeneration or muscle growth happen on board? These are the medical research aspects of it. Another important dimension that you need to know is space exploration and its affordability. These are the dimensions in which you should be studying this article, and I believe that a lot of articles are going to come in the coming days, so I'm not elaborating on this. This is the extent to which we need to know, that's enough. Okay, see, this article is not so important, but it's regarding one controversy. The controversy of how governor is a representative of the center. It's governor is supposed to be the bridge between the center and the states. So the controversy surrounds around the Tamil Nadu governor displaying the image of Bharat Mata. So this is taken as a symbolic assertion of certain values which Tamil Nadu assembly did not like. So it's just a conflict of values. Should should the governor be neutral and not assert symbols like this, or it's okay? Is it important to respect states' autonomy in the assembly? That's the whole debate. The argument of the writer is given here. Have a look at this. The governor is bound by the advice of the government on, for example, the placing of photographs, portraits, and also various functions in the official functions, such as lighting of the lamp, protocol. The governor, for example, cannot order the picture of Bharat Mata should be placed in all government offices. It's a decision only by the government. All constitutional authorities are bound by the disciplines of the constitution. The government has the constitutional right. Please note this word, constitutional right, to advise the governor not to place the picture of Bharat Mata at venues used to conduct official meetings on the ground that such a picture has not been recognized by the constitutional statutes. That conclusion is good enough for you to explain this whole issue. What is the article writer saying? What are the principles laid down by the constitution? Can governor use her discretion to impose any directives? The constitution does not give such powers to the governor. Okay, so that's the whole point. Rest everything is about symbolism, how the tension between center and the states is manifesting in assertion of symbolic identities like this. The counter view is that what's wrong in this? Bharat Mata represents the collective consciousness of Indian identity, and if the governor asks that such images be placed across the offices of the state, what's wrong in it? We are not putting up any, you know, biased partisan images. It's just a symbolic assertion of national identity. So these are the two sides of the debates. What is the center of this controversy is the procedural aspect. Does constitution give the power to the governor to dictate? Because the governor is supposed to act on behalf of the government. That is the procedural aspect that you can expect in the polity question. An ethical and moral debate can be what is wrong in the symbolism that is asserted in the context of the need for unity and diversity in this country, while we are respecting the regional autonomy. These are the two level of thoughts or arguments you need to have a developed thought on. Okay, moving on. The axis of upheaval in West Asia conflict. See, this article is actually written by ORF fellow, Observer Research Foundation. It's a very famous organization when it comes to international relations and policy discussion issues in international relations. So this word axis of upheaval means something. What does it mean? How do I get out of this? Anyway, this word axis of upheaval, what does it mean? See, whenever you see this word axis, it means there is a schism or a division between two blocks. Let's say this is a line that divides two different blocks. The axis of upheaval in this context refers to Iran-led narrative. Iran. Iran has a problem with Israel, and this problem dates back to the centuries. We have discussed this already from 1917, which after 1917 the Balfour Declaration, 1947 the creation of Israel, and whatever happened after that is a conflict between Arabs and Israel. So in this context, the axis of upheaval refers to how Iran has been using Iran-led proxy warfare against Israel, and there is something called Abraham Accord. Please read about this. Abraham Accord refers to how the conflict of the Israel-Palestine issue was supposed to be settled. Iran is against this Abraham Accords. US is leading this bloc. This is US led. So obviously, because of the post World War era, Cold War, there is Cold War between US and USSR. After 1991, when USSR broke down, now it became US versus Russia. In this context, when Iran is leading one bloc, obviously the other bloc is Abraham Accord bloc. and this is led by US. Now, since this is led by US, Russia wants to support Iran. It is not directly supporting Iran, it is supporting um, Syria. Syria is actually now on the side of Iran. The same group of proxies support Syria. What is happening as a result? On this end, what is happening? Obviously, you will see US versus Russia. US versus Russia. So, the problem here is the same Cold War era conflict is manifesting in a different format in this West Asia as a theater of that conflict. When I use the word theater of conflict, please remember that it is the geographical region in which this conflict is manifesting. Okay, so in this context, the complication arises because China is also involving. Why is China involving? Because of its self-interest, where it wants to protect its supply of oil. For example, we have seen the other day how do I get out of this? Slide down. Okay. Okay, thank you. The other day we have seen what was I talking? Yeah, the Belt and Road Initiative of China. As a part of this economic interest across the regions, and they have many strategies to advance this objective. And the biggest strategy is checkbook diplomacy. Please take a note of these words. Checkbook diplomacy, which creates a debt trap. We already discussed all of these points. So essentially, what is happening as a part of this axis of upheaval in the West Asia conflict is two blocks, again led by US and USSR, are backing different sides. And if we don't contain this, if global institutions like UN can't handle this properly, this will escalate into another World War like situation where we have multiple theaters of conflicts. One more problem is the military industrial complex. Military industrialization. Okay, military industrialization. The biggest problem here is that this war is actually fueled not by governments alone. There are stakeholders who are going to get benefit from this. The military industries or weapon industry, the biggest benefit uh, is attained by this weapons manufacturers. That is the biggest problem here. If they are involving in lobbying, this conflict will only escalate but will not settle. So we need to contain the growth of weapons, and we need treaties to handle this, global level treaties. As of now, no treaty is being respected. Not even the Geneva Convention on Warfare, where you have to respect the rights of the prisoners. With advent of modern weapons like AI based drones, the missiles like loitering munitions, where you can attack even very remotely without any human beings manning them. because of drones, the failure of conventional missile defense systems like Iron Dome, the growth of hypersonic missiles. What is hypersonic? Many times the speed of sound. One Mach is the speed of sound, many times the speed of sound. Recently, we have seen an Iranian hypersonic missile being used on Israel, Tel Aviv, where that missile has actually hit the civilians in Tel Aviv, a city in Israel. That has raised huge concerns because Geneva Convention, which is supposed to be the guiding philosophy of how to conduct war and warfare without attacking civilians. That entire region has now become an arena of conflict, and we are not able to do anything about it. That is the major concern. This is the takeaway from this: the axis of upheaval, axis of resistance. Another word that you will hear. See, these words can be used in your prelims exam. Axis of resistance. Okay, please note down what is this axis of resistance also. It is nothing but a proxy warfare of Iran. Now, enabling voting rights for migrants. We have discussed this multiple times in the month of May, in one format or the other, when we were talking about caste census, but I'll again repeat it. According to the 2011 caste census, we have nearly how many? I don't remember the exact number, but take a look at the number. Maybe it is 45 crore. 45 crore migrants, if I'm not off, whatever is the number exactly. Take a look at the census number. According to this, there are 45 crore internal migrants, or 4.5 crore. I don't remember exactly. Please have a look at it. These people, I'll tell you the broader funda. Please go and verify the numbers once again. The broader funda is that, let's say a person from Bihar, that person is moving out of the state, settling in southern part of the country. Let's say, not settling per se, but came here to work. When elections come, their voting rights are at the place of their residence and they don't get to vote. This is the problem. If they don't get to vote, how will their voice be represented? And secondly, that is one dimension. Secondly, since they are living in cities, they are major stakeholders of cities also. They contribute to the growth of a city. Let's say a city like Hyderabad or Bangalore or Chennai. We have representatives from Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Jharkhand, where migrant population is feeding the growth of city in the sense that they are supplying cheap labor. So they do have some stakes in the growth of the city, but they don't have any voice or representation in the growth of the city. Is this fair? Because in a democracy, their voice needs to be represented. So we need to figure out a system. Election Commission, because it is an inherent part of democracy, said that we have to figure out an issue. Article 326. Okay, now is your homework. What does this article say? How is it linked to democracy? Is right to vote according to UPSC key? Check. This whole debate about right to vote, is it a constitutional right or just a legal right? Go to UPSC key, probably in 2017. PYQ. Go and check. I can give you the answer, but I want you to check. So what are the solutions? Various solutions explored by Election Commission to handle this. One is to give a remote ballot, meaning a machine should come from that area to the city, wherever the migrants are there, that city. But there is a problem expressed by a lot of parties that this can be manipulated. So the alternative that is right now considered to be okay is using postal ballot. Just like how it is available for senior citizens and armed services professionals. They want to implement this here. That is the gist of the article. Okay. This one, liver disease. The other day we were talking about alcohol ban, etc. According to the data, liver disease, according to the data released by the registrars, okay, wait, I'll show you why it is important to have this. Anyway, okay, anyway, we will see. I don't know if it is there in this or not. Liver diseases are the ninth largest cause of deaths. The number is not important, but the cause of death, the rise in the liver diseases as a cause of death is a very major cause of concern. Why? Let's understand that why aspect rather than the what. See, liver, what is the biological function of liver? It is supposed to be a natural, it is like a cleanser of our body, and it also secretes bile, which is supposed to digest fats in our body. If on the top of liver fat is getting deposited, it's not healthy. It leads to malfunctioning. It will not do its assigned job properly. Why will fat occur on our body? That is a sign of social behavior. The concerns like rising consumption of fast food and alcohol, it leads to a condition called liver cirrhosis. Okay, this liver cirrhosis is considered to be the rising cause of concern in non-communicable diseases strategy. See, right now liver diseases are not really emphasized in public policy, primarily because it is not the leading cause of death in the masses. But the last 3-4 years data, if you take a look at the death certificates collectively across the states, it has been found that especially in males, the rate of growth of deaths in males is significantly higher due to this. And this is primarily linked to the changing social behaviors, rising consumption of food, fast food. Link it back to this historical evolution. So health and social conditions can be correlated. You as a public policy expert should understand this correlation from that standpoint, but not as a medical professional alone. You're not a doctor. You're not supposed to be a doctor here in this context. You just have to understand what is the problem. Take a look back at the evolution of how health either deteriorated. On what aspects did India get better? Life expectancy. Meaning, the number of years that human beings lived improved with the growth of science. Communicable diseases like malaria, cholera, all this were contained through science. And this has coupled with green revolution, where we now had more access to food. Access to food, not quality food. We had access to food, not nutrition. There is a difference between food and nutrition. If you talk to any doctor, they will suggest that I mean, world over, World Health Organization suggests that we need to have food in the ratio of 40, 40, 30. 40 percentage of carbs, 40 percentage of protein, and 30 percentage of fat as a balanced diet along with micronutrient and fiber. Okay, this is the overall profile of the food that we need to eat. Take a look at any cuisine in the world, traditional cuisine in the world. Let's take a pizza. What does a pizza have? A base. We are not talking about Domino's pizza and Pizza Hut here. The original pizza, what does it have? The base is made out of wheat, a carb source. On the top of it, you have vegetables, meat, whatnot, which is a protein source, as well as when you have cheese, it is a fat source. The micronutrients are supplied through vegetables, and all the fiber is supplied through vegetables. When you put it in a proper balance, it becomes a complete nourished meal. Same is the case with pasta, ravioli. In India, take the case dal chawal. Dal is supposed to be a protein, and rice or wheat is supposed to be the carb source, and on the top of it you put ghee, which is the fat source. Traditional cuisines understood how we have to balance our nutrition. A distortion of this balance caused by globalization and the focus has always been on taste, has distorted our lifestyle. In 1947 and the periods before that, the generations had something called the starvation gene, meaning our bodies were not tuned to store excess, because from history, if you take a look at it, we were always lean. If you take a look in an anthropology optional, you will see different types of bodies: ectomorphic, endomorphic. I mean, if you are having a lean personality, the average personality, physical personality of Indians was not like Caucasians or the Greeks, like how you would see in the Caucasus Mountains region where they are tall, muscular, etc. Indian body type was predominantly lean, and the genes passed on to the next generation. In that next generation also, people were lean, but they were consuming more and more carbs thanks to the green revolution. So lifestyle diseases started. In 1991, LPG reforms happened. Ever since LPG reforms happened, access to tastier food increased thanks to globalization. We all like Domino's pizza. Is there anyone who doesn't like pizzas, burgers, fast food, etc.? Everybody likes fast food. But the problem with this is their emphasis on taste comes at the cost of health. Not only are we talking about taste in terms of unhealthy balance, we are also talking in terms of food adulteration. The latest controversy being that of analog paneer. Are you aware of this controversy? Are you aware of this analog paneer controversy? Nobody? We are getting fake paneer. If you see paneer being sold at 200, 250 per kg, consider it as fake paneer. It is made out of palm oil. If you consume that kind of paneer, you are just consuming worst form of fat. Milk is supposed to be the source of paneer, and it is a protein source. But if you are getting it at, let's say for example, paneer, Amul paneer is costing you around 80-90 rupees for 200 grams. But if you are getting a kg at 250 rupees, Amul is supposed to be the largest supplier of milk. If a small store is selling at 200-250 rupees, you should be careful. Food adulteration is one more problem. A combination of all these factors has been worsening the health especially that of liver, and we need to take some care about this. This is the gist of the article. Should the method of counting caste change? Multiple times you have discussed, but a quick recap. See, how does caste census happen? It happens in two phases. Firstly, we enumerate the households, and secondly, after each household is taken care, and we go for a head count. So the entire article is, when we are talking about each individual, what are the parameters that we need to consider? Historically, after 1931, we have not counted OBCs, primarily because it will lead to political fragmentation. But we have already discussed multiple times that enumeration of OBCs is a prerequisite for good governance. It is our duty to not misuse this data, as you have seen in many cases. Okay. So the question is about, is enumerating caste good enough? Because let's say if a person does not want to be identified through a caste because of the social stigma associated with it, do we have a method that will guarantee that we have authentic numbers? So some people, policy experts, are talking about using Aadhaar and linkage with census. But the problem is, we have the Puttaswamy judgment in 2017, right to privacy. This is not allowed and unconstitutional because it will lead to a possible surveillance state. When you have access to every single parameter, social engineering becomes even more easy. What do you mean by social engineering? What is engineering? It is using existing data and molding things or manipulating things according to your needs. When you have access to this kind of data, this level of granular level data, every minute detail is known by the person having access to this data. It's very much possible that you can create a surveillance state, create fake news, drive narratives through social media, and totally fragment the Indian population, which is a very big danger. So we don't want to do or take up this Aadhaar level data. We need to go beyond this caste as a metric. We need to go for socio-economic indicators, health indicators, etc. Right now, what is happening, we are taking small sample surveys through NSSO. The other day we were talking about household consumption. National level household consumption data, for the first time it is happening. Instead of sample surveys like this, why not have the infrastructure backed by AI and the latest technologies like IoT to track real-time data on dashboards? Is that not a good way to go about it? Having a unified database which is accessible to people. On what metrics? Not caste, but population level metrics, where we're talking about health, education, income level, access to government schemes, all this data at a real-time basis leveraging AI. And this is what the government should be focusing on, is the gist of the article. Okay, this article. The concept of endemic species and importance of native species and importance of ecological impact assessment. See, what is the funda here? There is a study that was carried out in Bangalore or Bengaluru. 70% of the trees that were planted in Bengaluru after the modern wave of urbanization are exotic in nature because they grow quickly. They are not local species. They are not native species found in that region. When this is happening, it will disturb the biological activity or the biological productivity of that region. How? Let me explain. If you take a look at how birds thrive, they are dependent on the flora of that region. When you take a tree, at one tree level, let us understand. A tree is not just a source of oxygen or beautification, everything. It is an ecosystem in itself. Let's say if the desirability of a tree is high in that region, you will have worms. They are feeding on the plants. When you have worms, birds build their nests. So there is a balance. This balance is disturbed when you prefer aesthetics or beautification over local species. The reason why the local bodies are planting this is only for one reason: to cool the place and to make it much more beautiful. But that is not the whole point of having flora and fauna in a region. It creates an ecological balance. Couple this with urban heat island effects. When you have this problem and this problem, it leads to ecological collapse of that region in the long term. So what is the fix? India has this, what is the fix at a policy level, I'm asking. India has this smart city program where we are trying to retrofit the existing cities with technology. And for that you have something called smart cities assessment framework. Okay. Smart cities assessment framework. The policy suggestion that we're talking about is including ecological biodiversity and the ecological impact assessment as a part of this framework. Okay. Smart cities assessment framework. So we are not just focusing on economics alone or biodiversity alone, we are combining all these elements in our urbanization agenda. This is the takeaway. So that's it for today. These are the important articles of the day. Go back and read your news. Okay. Thank you.